everyone, it's Cass. Welcome back to my channel, What Cass Read. Today we're going to do a little bit of a discussion, and it's something silly that I wanted to do to wrap up the week. We're on a Friday, it's going to bring you into the weekend, and I wanted to talk about some bookish things that drive me crazy. These are just some silly things. They're not anything serious about like authors or tropes or anything like that. Nothing about, it's just silly bookish things that drive me crazy. So the first thing that I want to talk about is mismatching covers. I am not alone in this. I know I'm not alone in this. I just can't handle when I have a series of books and they're mismatching. I don't understand why sometimes they will redesign a cover in the middle of the series. You've been collecting all the books in that series and then cover change and then everything just fell apart in front of your very eyes. I guess in that same vein, I also don't like when they publish a book and they make it different sizes and you're like, what? You bought it in the correct format, like you bought a paperback instead of a hardcover, but then they published it and they're not the same size and you're like, well, why? And then when they decide to change the cover and you have the whole set, at least can you like keep the spines the same at the very least? Because if I line them up, then the spines will match. Mismatching covers, not my thing. It drives me crazy. Sort of in that same vein of mismatching covers, I also don't like to have a book series where half of them are in hardcover and half of them are in paperback. If you checked out my January book haul, where I hauled this book, this is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I had this originally in paperback, but I always wanted it in hardcover. When I saw that Naomi Novik was releasing Spinning Silver later this year, that would be released in hardcover first, it just like drove me up the wall that I had a paperback version of one of her books and I was gonna get another one of her books in hardcover. I had to rectify that. There's also been several series where I will buy the first book in a paperback and then as the book gets released, I buy it right when it comes out and I get all of them in hardcover. That happened to me with The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. I'm talking about the Aragon books. I originally bought Aragon in paperback because all my friends were talking about it and I was like, oh yeah, I'll totally read this. And then of course I got hooked. So then each and every book that came out after that, I bought it right when it came out and they were all in hardcover. So then I had the whole series, they were all hardcover except for the first one. So what did I do? I went to the used bookstore and then I swapped them out. I traded in my paperback and bought a hardcover because it just drives me crazy when I have mismatching sets with both paperback and hardcover. Okay, here's another thing that drives me crazy is publishers. I don't think it's the author's fault. It's definitely the publisher's fault, but they will release the same exact book with a different title for different countries. And I'm not talking about languages, I'm not talking about translations of a title. I'm talking about the same exact book, like a sneak peek into my February book haul, is I was searching for the Temeraire series, also by Naomi Novik. The Temeraire series, in the US, the book is called His Majesty's Dragon. And then everywhere else in the world, the first book is called Temeraire. We know it's the Temeraire series. That's why I went searching for it. But why would you release it in the US under a completely different name? The Demon Cycle series is also another culprit of this, as well as Harry Potter. That's probably the most infamous example of what I'm talking about. But the Demon Cycle series, book number 1, it's called The Warded Man in the US, and then it's called The Painted Man in the UK. That's similar, I can let that slide. But Temeraire, I'm looking at you. His Majesty's Dragon versus Temeraire. What gives? Okay, this one drives me up the wall, I think the most. And I'm gonna pick on YA for now, but I'm also guilty of reading some adult series that have gone on for too long, and that is just YA series that go on for too long. And you know which example I'm gonna be talking about. Of course, I'm talking about the Mortal Instruments series. The last 3 books, we could have put them together. We didn't need 6 books. Another example is the Red Queen series. I just talked about this in my most recent tag video, the books I'll probably never read. The Red Queen series, I thought it was a trilogy. And then it turns out it was a 4-book series. It could have been a trilogy. Again, I'm gonna blame the publishers. I feel like these publishing companies just see dollar signs when they look at YA releases. And so they're like, yes, let's feed the frenzy. Let's feed the frenzy. And then release way too many books. And so the story suffers because they want to make money off of everybody being in love with their book. I don't know. It drives me nuts. Publishers, I'm looking at you. Okay, and then this final thing, this bookish thing that drives me crazy, and it's very specific to my area, but perhaps you're also experiencing this as well. It is library zoning. I live on the border of a really big city, and they have just spent millions of dollars opening this brand new public library. And everybody that I go to work with, everybody that I see like hanging around, all of my friends, they cannot stop talking about this brand spanking new public library that has restaurants, that has all these cool computers, that has every book that you could possibly imagine, and then the audiobook selection is great, and it's so convenient to be able to check books out because you can do that online, and it's like the most convenient library of all time. But because I live on the border of this big city, and I don't actually live in this big city, and I'm not technically a resident of this big city that I could throw a rock into, I don't get access to that library. Okay, fine, I understand it's because I don't pay taxes in that city, but for real? So that means that if I want access to this beautiful, grand library, I have to pay for it. But everybody else, they get it for free because they're residents of that city. It drives me crazy. All right, everyone, so that was just a fun, silly video that I thought I'd make about bookish things that drive me crazy. Please list any bookish things that drive you crazy in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it. They're just something silly that you had to get off of your chest. You can find me on social media if you want to chat with me there. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. It's at WhatCastRead, the same as this channel. And you can also find me on Goodreads. That link is always going to be down below. And of course, have a great weekend. You know how these videos end. I'll talk to you later.